All right, let me take you through that process again of how to call up UVs. If you remember, we've got F8 for object mode, F9 for vertices, F10 for edges, F11 for faces, and F12 is UVs. Or go to the marking menu, object mode, right click and hold down object mode, vertex, right click and hold down edge, face, or UVs. And the way to start editing UVs in the UV editor, which I'll show you how to open again, is to, if you click on this guy up here, this will open the UV texture editor. Or you can also open it here under Window UV texture editor. So either way we'll do that. And the camera controls for the UV texture editor are the exact same as your camera controls out here. So we can, it all bases, you hold down the command key, and then you can middle mouse click and hold to pan, command key and right button to zoom in and out. And there's no rotation on this camera in 2D, so it doesn't really matter. Or you can use the lazy man's spin the mouse wheel, the middle mouse wheel. So hold down the command key, push down on the middle mouse button, and then drag around to pan, and then hold down the command key and right button and drag to dolly, and then middle mouse to pan around. So I've got my UVs here, and I've got my map here. And you can turn the map on and off by clicking this little image here. And you can also gray the image down, which sometimes makes it easier to see the UVs. And let's see, you can also turn the grid on and off here as well. So yeah, so let's go into get into UVs a little bit more. So like I was saying, you can also right click right in here with that object selected and pick UVs here with your marking menu. Now watch what happens. I can just click and drag around any one of these, and I get, instead of getting the whole set of UVs, I just get one UV. It turns green here. You can see it turns green out here as well. So I can click and drag and select two UVs, and this kind of becomes like component mode, or I can drag this down, and I'll start to get distortion, because my UV map turns into basically kind of a square here, but my geometry out here has stayed the same as a vertically oriented rectangle, and so this gets distorted. This face gets stretched out. So watch what happens if I just pick one of these UVs and drag it towards this part of the head. Well, as I do, the UV map is now distorting here, but the geometry remains the same. It's the geometry, what the UV is telling them is like, look, distort that image to make it so that the curve of the head here comes really, really close to the edge right here and basically touches the edge right here. So sure enough, we get the edge touch over here, and it comes very close to that edge. And so if I bring it even so that they both touch, you get this massive distortion here. Now if I pull out the other way, it's going to say, put this head so that this edge of the head so it's getting farther away from the corner. And if I go far enough, I'll pick up another image. Oh, wrong program. Another image, because it tiles the farther away we get from our original, just tiles out there. So that's pretty funky. And if we bring that in here, we get super crazy distortion. So watch what happens. I'll basically turn this into a triangle right now. We get this really heinous distortion out here. But now, to get kind of freaky, and so you can see the relationship between 3D geometry and 2D UVs, Well, I'm going to go ahead and switch this out here, right click and go to vertex, and I'm going to now distort my vertex. I think I'll do this in the front view, so that it's going to kind of look the same as this triangle. And so as I bring this, as I match up, as my geometry and my UV look more similar, the less distortion we get on the image. So this looks pretty dang close to the original image out here. And sure enough, you see the correspondence, like the S gets cut off. And this is that point that we're talking about, which here is, pretty close to that eye, and so on. So you can get some really ugly things going on with UVs, and we have to right-click and switch back to UVs. And the point of what we're going to be doing with UV mapping down the line is going to be to take out this kind of a distortion by editing our UV map to match the geometry like we just did by creating that kind of triangular form there to match that. And so, if we go back out here to vertex, as we change this, we'll need to go and edit our UV map to match as close as we can the geometry to make sure we don't get distortion. So that's a little, there we go, that looks better. So we're trying to make our UV map generally match this. So that's a little bit more on introduction to UV mapping.